You're listening to the Jay and Dan Podcast.
Dance. Oh, I'm off beat. You got me off guard there, Stuff. I thought we were having a recap.
That's going to be inserted in post. As will the timing of your dance. Hopefully.
So everything sounds great so far.
Perfect.
Where the hell's the volume out here? Okay, we're back in the radio studio. It's the week of August 12th. Jay Onright remains on vacation. He's on... It's very strange. We always take vacations the opposite sides of the country. He's out west. I was out east. I'm back home. He gone bye-bye. Staff is back. Welcome back from vacation. You went to the cottage?
Yes, I did.
And?
Very good time.
Bugs. The bug situation.
Honestly, not too bad.
Yeah, because it's too hot for the bugs right now.
Exactly. So the mosquitoes would come out like from, 7 till 9, and that's about it. Outside of that, it was
7 to 9's mosquito time.
Yep.
Is the nursery rhyme I grew up with. Doing some housekeeping here as we try to find some of our guests. At the start of the week, it was going to be jam-packed with 3 guests, 2 people that have appeared before, 1 that never has. Now the 2 people that have appeared before, we can't find. And the other one that hasn't appeared will be here. That's going to be Michael Del Zotto, Stanley Cup champion, will be joining us on this podcast. The other one, I guess we can say, Bobby Roode, the wrestler. He's been on here before. We're from the same hometown. But we think he might be a part of Monday Night Raw tonight because he was in Toronto. All the wrestling was in Toronto over the weekend and into Monday. He really didn't have an assignment, but we're hoping that changed. And by now, when you listen to this on Tuesday, you'll probably have known, if you're a wrestling fan, if he was involved in Monday Night Raw. So we will find out. We'll try to get a hold of him. And the other person we wanted on this podcast, but he got called into action. We used to work with him at Fox. Former Detroit Tiger great, Dontrell Willis, the D-Train. I wanted to have him on because I went to Detroit again this past weekend. I have been to Detroit twice in the past year. The last time was in January. My lady and friend and I said, why don't we go to Detroit and watch a baseball game? She said, I don't care. I got nothing else to do. So I said, okay. She didn't say it that way. So drove to Detroit. Love it. The hot trend there right now that's sweeping America, you don't rent bikes. You rent motorized scooters. People are dying. 100%. We saw guys just go through traffic, ignoring traffic laws because they can't stop the scooters. They're fast, too. We saw a guy drive through a flower bed. The scooter doesn't go through a flower bed. And the reason we saw them, aside from everyone riding them, we were walking down the street, and they're just strewn across the sidewalk because when you're done with it, you just leave it. But it's got a little kickstand. You should leave it standing up. But most of them are just... You can see where people have taken them to the bar, and then they wisely did not drive them away from the bar. So we bombed around on those. That was a blast. And again, if you haven't been to Detroit in the last few years, it has had a stunning regrowth, starting in the downtown core, and they're going to spread out. And the energy there is great. Everyone's loving the rebuild and not loving the Detroit Tigers because they're the worst team in baseball. Went to see them. First time I ever went to Comerica Park. Love it. Because it's an outdoor stadium. And people say, well, the Sky Dome, it's an outdoor stadium when they have a roof open. No. Because in an outdoor stadium, there's so much more light coming in without a roof. I know when the roof's open, the sun comes in, but still it feels like you're in a cave at Jays games. So went to Detroit, went to a Tigers game, ran into... this group of people, 3 of them, they were at a bar across the street. Oh, by the way, Stuff, I was complaining about the Blue Jays not getting fans in for the first pitch of the game. Hey, Detroit, same problem. So Detroit, you also have to figure out how to get people into your stadium quicker. Anyway, bought tickets from a guy out front and go into the going to the line. I'm like, I'm not waiting for an hour. I don't need to see the first pitch of this game. I don't care who wins between the Tigers and Royals. I just want to see the stadium. I hope Alan Trammell is starting, is what I said. So I went over to this bar, and this nice group of people came over, and we started with them, and they're like, well, we're going to the game too. From Windsor. I said, okay, you guys lead the way, because they said that we have a great place to watch it. So as soon as we enter, we go up a flight of stairs and walk into an open-air bar. We never moved the rest of the game. So I could not have called balls and strikes by the eighth inning. If they said, Dan, we need an ump out here, I would have been, yike. Detroit. Hey, I saw a shirt. I actually can pull it up here. It was in the lobby of our hotel. Stayed at the Detroit Foundation Hotel. It used to be a fire station. They changed it into a hotel. And the shirt that they were selling in the lobby, say nice things about Detroit. Why not, eh? Some housekeeping before we get to our first guest, Michael Del Zotto. A gentleman sent me a message after listening to the last podcast in which I recapped my trip out east. He said, hey, Dan, local Bedeck resident here, listening to your podcast covering your recent Cape Breton vacation and couldn't help but laugh in relation to your go-kart track sighting on the Cabot Trail. The name of the place is the Lakes Adventure Campground located on Lake Ola. But don't worry, your eyes did not deceive you about the odd sign. There is a sign about half a kilometer before the place that says, hey, Dad, look, go-karts. Questionable marketing because my father never fell for it. Nonetheless, great spot, highly recommend. I also wanted to read this one. It's just odd. I won't give it the person's name. It says, my boyfriend and I broke up, but he's a good dude and the biggest Jay and Dan fan you'll ever meet. If you come to Japan and see any comments or requests by the user, and she gave the username, he's a big fan and good tour guide. Am I missing something?
So is she pimping out her ex-boyfriend to tour you around Japan?
Yes.
That's pretty good. You got your next vacation planned already. Maybe he's got an RV.
Hey,
a good time.
RVZ, I mentioned how I rented RV through RVZ. They sent me a message today. Said, hi, Dan. I was listening to the Jay and Dan podcast this week and heard you mention that you rented an RV through us for your trip to PEI. I just wanted to mention that we'll be sharing the podcast episode on our social media channels. Feel free to send me an email if you're thinking of going on another RV trip in the future. Also, do you mind me asking how you heard about us? And I said, Dragon's Den.
They just love the extra miles you put on that car, eh?
Oh, everyone's happy with my rental because that guy made it like gangbusters. Good old Dave. All right, where are we in our situation with our two non-respondent guests?
Still non-respondent.
Okay.
As of right now.
Why don't we go to the one guy who confirmed his spot on the Jay and Dan podcast? He is a friend of SportsCenter with Jay and Dan. He had one of the most interesting seasons ever last year. I believe he was playing in he was playing golf today or playing in a golf tournament. Anyways, he was swinging the sticks. I did that today as well. Shout out to our friends at Wooden Sticks. It's in Uxbridge. It's the course where they recreate the greatest holes in golf. Not going to lie to you. I was lights out on the back. I was sinking bombs. I was getting on in regulation. Shot a 42 on the back. Some of you might be saying, that's nothing. Well, for me, that's like winning the Masters. For a total of 91. I was garbage on the front. That was my fourth round of the year. Don't play as much as I used to because my body hurts after I finish golf. Luckily, I sat in my hot tub that still is red. It's like you're sitting in a bowl of Campbell's tomato soup. Well, it's not that thick because that would be disgusting because you'd be... Unless you made your Campbell's tomato soup with water, and I hope you don't do that because that's disgusting. Do we have our guest? Oh, Michael Del Zotto, when you make your Campbell's tomato soup, you use milk, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. When was the last time you had it? Because I find now if I have a can of Campbell's tomato soup, I need to drink 7 gallons of liquid after because you're so dehydrated.
I can't tell you the last time I've had soup, let alone that specific kind.
What? Soup is not part of your off-season workout routine?
No, not at all. It's funny. Like I play with guys that are like soup and sandwiches every day. Like that's like their thing. I can't remember the last time I've had a small, even a sandwich and a soup. So I don't know. I think it's just kind of how you're raised. I don't know. I'm not a big soup guy.
What the hell do you eat then? I eat sandwiches every day.
I'm a salad guy, believe it or not. I love a nice salad. Like
Okay.
a good Cobb salad. Oh.
I do like the Cobb salad. Good choice.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah,
always throw in chicken on that salad?
Yeah, usually some sort of protein, like a tuna. I make my own dressing at home too, which is phenomenal. It's a bit of a secret recipe though, so don't expect me to give you that one.
Okay, I won't. I was just saying how you had one of these strange. Well, was it the strangest season of your career? Because you start on the Canucks, you go to the Ducks, and then you finish on the Blues, and you win a Stanley Cup.
Yeah, it was. I don't think strange is even the word. Crazy, bizarre. Not how you expected it to go. I went into the year in Vancouver. Pretty excited. Unfortunately, we didn't make the playoffs last year, but I had a great year. I played all 82 games the first time in my career. I've always had injuries, and that was a big goal for me. Was to play all 82. I had a great year. I was expecting the same thing going into Vancouver, and for whatever reason, there was, they wanted to rebuild and go with the younger guys, and it's kind of how the hockey world is now. I go to Anaheim, and everything was great. I was playing with Cam Fowler, who, in my 10-year career, was probably the best defense partner I'd ever played with, and he was one of those guys where, right away we gelled. We had chemistry. We saw the ice the same way. We run off each other really well, and I was happy again. And then it's probably the happiest I've been in I don't know how many years, just enjoying hockey, playing with a great defense partner, and obviously living in California isn't too bad either. So it was an awesome time. And then from there, we lose a couple games. We lose back-to-back divisional games before the deadline. And then next thing you know, I'm on the move again to St. Louis. And, depends how you look at it. Unfortunately or fortunately, they didn't have any injuries and wasn't able to get in, but you get a cup out of it, you get a ring, and a pretty special day, which I had, 3-4 weeks ago at my place, celebrating the Stanley Cup with, my closest family and friends, and a moment that I know anyone who came will never forget.
Okay, thanks for the invite. Let's before we talk about the season with the Blues and that Cup run, okay, guide us through your day with the Cup from start to finish. What like, do they bring it to your house? Do you have to go to the airport and pick it up?
Yeah, they bring it to your place. So they showed up at my house around 9 a.m. I brought it out. I live in Etobicoke, so I brought it to Second Cup for a little bit. There was a bunch of people there. I had a little bit of a 30, 45-minute event there, and then I had it at my house the rest of the day. So I was pretty much at my house from 10 to, I want to say, 8 p.m. So I had, kind of a rotation of family and friends coming in. Some people came by just to hang out, get a few pictures with it. And then a bunch of people stayed for barbecue. We had, obviously, a lot of alcohol, tons of beer, tequila, kind of everything. It was special, really special for me. Just more so seeing the excitement on my parents and my brother's face.
That's what I wanted to ask. When people walk in and see it, are they overcome with emotion, some of them?
Yeah, it's hard to explain. Like, it's almost like the Cup, it possesses people. It's weird because you see it, and especially being in Toronto and or Canada for that matter, you grow up and you don't really have a choice but to love hockey, and every kid dreams of winning the Stanley Cup. So when my brother lifted it above his head, it was probably the coolest moment of my life because he is the biggest hockey fan, and knowing what my parents, what my brother went through to help me get to where I've been, where I am in the NHL, it's it's really a family effort, and that was a special moment. So we had it at my house, and as most brothers do, we played a bunch of games in the backyard, some pool basketball, cornhole, spike ball. We played a bunch of games, and obviously the winner got to celebrate with the cup and drinking out of the cup. Yeah, so that was cool. The only thing we didn't get to was playing mini sticks, which I wish we did. But
oh yeah, that would have been so cool.
It's tough when you're trying to entertain 40 people and then you sneak off just to get a quick game of mini sticks in the basement when you're 29, your brother's 32. So it's not the easiest thing to explain to everyone.
Yeah, exactly. All those previous liquids you mentioned, were all those drank out of the cup? And did you have any food or like chips in the cup?
Yeah, the cool thing out of the cup, me and my brother had Golden Grams in the morning. That's a cereal we kind of grew up with. And then tons of beer out of the cup. My dad and my mom, for that matter, aren't big drinkers. And seeing my dad, he was just guzzling the beer out of the cup. Like I'd never seen him like this. He was so excited. So that was pretty cool. And then at the end of the night, we had my one grandpa. We had his homemade wine out of there. So that was a special moment for him too, because it's unfortunate that he's the only of my grandparents that are still living, and he watches every game. So he was pretty proud and got emotional when that happened.
I guess so. Was the cup dented? Was it because it's been in Canada for most of the summer, because 90% of that team was Canadian?
Yeah, no, it's still in good shape. I was not the next day. It's brutal because no one else is allowed to lift it, right? So you're the only person that can really. You have to have a hand on it at all times.
Really? Okay.
So so everyone who wants to drink out of it, you're the one that has to lift it up. So you think from 9 a.m. till I had it till midnight, 9 to 12, anyone who drank out of it, and you say there's probably a couple hundred times people were sipping out of it, you're the one that has to lift it up. So I remember I got to a point, I'm really only having beer in the afternoon, where I was starting to get dehydrated. My hands were cramping just from holding on to the cup the whole time. So as much fun as it was to have it, you can't wait to get rid of it as well, because you want to rest, and it's almost a bit overwhelming having to be keeping an eye on it.
What happens though if you take your hand off it, or if you leave it? Do you get in trouble?
Yeah, you get the Carlo Coliacovo actually lifted it up, and the guy who's, I guess, the cup holder. There's the protector, however you want to call him. There's three of them. Was not too pleased with it, so it was actually kind of funny seeing him give.
I saw him. He posted that picture on social media.
Yeah, which he probably shouldn't have either. But I mean, he was proud of it, and it is what it is, and you deal with the aftermath, I guess.
Yeah, because he lifted it over his head, and I guess you're okay to do that if you're retired.
I don't know if that's a myth or not. If you're playing and you're not allowed to lift it or touch it or whatever, I'm not quite sure what the rules are, but he definitely did it, and I don't think it's going to affect him in the future. And
Carlo ate pasta out of it as well?
Yeah, he had that. That was at Petro's, actually, Petrangelos. He was there 2 days later.
What is he?
So
he's just like a cup groupie?
I guess so. He's the town cup groupie, I guess you could call him. Yeah, the first time I've seen that, but it was he went from, I guess he came from my place, and then I think Petro had it 2 days later up in King City. So he was back and forth. And as soon as we won, he messaged us both and said, "I'm coming to that cup party." So he was not letting us live that. We had no choice but to invite him. So I told him he could come as long as he brought his wife, and he did. So it was a win-win situation.
There you go. What was St. Louis like? It's a big sports town. And what's the big food there? Fried ravioli?
Yeah, they have a name for it. I don't know why I can't think of it right now. I only had it once, because obviously if soup and sandwiches aren't on my diet, I doubt fried ravioli will be too. But it's a great sports city, and all they have is baseball and hockey. I didn't really think much of it going into there, to be quite honest with you. Anytime I played there and was going in there, it was not a not a city or a game I had circled on the schedule. It's not a place you get overly excited about to go play or visit, for that matter. But after being there and seeing how passionate the fans were, it was pretty special. It was the loudest building by far that I've ever been in. Louder than MSG when I played there in conference finals years ago. It was louder than Winnipeg. It was louder than Dallas, San Jose, Boston. Every rink we had played in the playoffs, it blew it out of the water. So until you go to a game there, especially playoff time, I think the coolest part is just all the traditions they have there with the different songs they sing and whatnot. It's an amazing atmosphere to watch a hockey game.
Are you sick of the song Gloria?
Oh, I was sick of it before I even heard it. It's not one of my favorites. Not something I have on my playlist. That's for sure.
Yeah, I know what's on your playlist. You're a DJ, aren't you?
Yes, I am, and that's definitely not on my playlist.
So, I guess you weren't in St. Louis long enough to control the music, or were you?
I had a couple. I had some of my playlists on there. Yeah, the guys definitely liked it, and that room was great for it because there's a lot of guys who were into house music and the pump up stuff. So there was no one really fighting me on that. The only time I got a harder time was from Jay Boeser, obviously an older guy, pretty quiet. I used to be first in the rink and, be 7, 8 in the morning, and I'd be getting to lift in before guys got in, and I'd have the music full blast trying to get an extra rep in or whatnot, and he'd come in and he didn't have to say anything. He came in and he just shut the door, and that's when I knew right away that, okay, maybe I should turn the music down or maybe just shut it off. So he didn't even have to use his words, and I knew what he meant, and then we had a mutual agreement later on, and everything was fine.
Boeser, Jay, and I, we always laugh whenever we see him get interviewed because it's very rare. We're like, this guy has it all figured out. He's brilliant because he doesn't say much, and then people know not to really go to him for interviews, so he doesn't ever have to do interviews.
Exactly. He's the one guy who's done it right.
Yeah.
Give him nothing, and they won't bother me, and no one's going to come talk to me after a game.
Away from the microphones, like with the team, does he actually talk?
Not a whole lot. You get him one-on-one, he will. He's a super nice guy, but he's definitely not one to speak in group settings or to be loud and obnoxious. Not at all.
So this coming year, it's a 1-year deal with the Ducks, right? You signed?
Correct.
So is this extra motivation after what happened last year where you ended up playing on 3 different teams?
Yeah, I'd say so. I think you get to a point in your career where you understand, who you are as a player, as a person, what needs to be done to be successful. And the thing is, last year, which the unfortunate part was, I actually thought I was playing better hockey last year than I did the year before, and the year before I ended up playing 82 games. So as you get to the stage I'm at now, going into my 11th year, 29 years old, you have to understand where the league is going, the politics side of it, what teams are trying to do, and there's a lot more that goes into it than just tying up your skates, going out there, giving your best, and playing. There's an understanding of, again, where you're at in your career, what's expected of you, what you can and can't do, and that's part of maturing. That's part of having the experience. And although not playing last year, but having that experience of that deep cup run and winning is, something that can't just be given. You have to go through that to understand what it takes, the ups and downs, the roller coaster rides of the playoffs, the media, this and that. There's so much that goes into it. So that's something that I can definitely take moving forward. And there's definitely not a lot of expectations for our group this year in Anaheim, but I do like your team, and I liked your team a lot when I played there last year. But now with some young up and coming guys with a lot of skill, it's nice not having expectations. You kind of be that sleeper team and come in and hopefully surprise some teams. And
you can live in, where will you live? Newport,
yeah.
Oh boy,
yeah. There's definitely worse places to be.
Yeah.
And the best part of that, though, is the best part of that, and I mean, anyone who's ever had a job would understand, there's a lot of times where you take work home with you, which is the most miserable thing in the world, where there that doesn't happen. You could have the worst day at the rink. You drive home, you got the beach, you got the ocean.
I don't take work home with me here. Once that show ends, I am squealing tires out of here, and I forget that I even work here.
Well, you know what? I applaud you for that. Then we might have to switch jobs.
Yeah. So you've played over 600 games in the NHL, and you mentioned how the league has changed. What is the biggest change, or a couple changes, since the time you entered the league to now?
Less tough guys, a completely different style of game. I think when I came in, there was definitely a little more accountability, and things had to be earned. Whereas now, because the league's getting younger and younger, a lot of teams, whether it's management, coaches, are overlooking maybe some mistakes or some things that happen with young guys just because that's just the way the game is going. But when I first came in, third and fourth lines were still pretty much all tough guys.
Yeah.
It was as a defenseman, especially if you're playing against the other team's third or fourth line, like you're taking a beating every single night. Now you don't have that nearly as much. The West is still a fairly physical game as opposed to the East, but it's very different in that regard. Obviously, every night you're seeing highlight reel goals, highlight reel plays, which still the fan in me loves that.
Mm-hmm.
But then you come playoff time, it's still same old school hockey, and that's what I love about hockey, and that'll never change no matter what.
And
what rules are brought in. The playoffs is playoffs. That'll never change, and that's the best thing about hockey.
The first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs is the greatest of any sport on earth because there's 9 million things happening at once every night.
Exactly. If you watch, to me, one of the best series to watch was that Columbus. Was it second round? Watching Columbus play, and that's a torts mentality. I had them for 4 years, and you were they were trying to beat the piss out of the other team every single shift. It didn't matter who you were trying to run that guy through the end wall, and that's the part. And you won't get that in the season. You come playoff time, every inch of ice matters, and you start developing that hatred and that rivalry, which unfortunately there's not many of those in hockey anymore, just because of just the way the game has gone. So that's why playoffs is so exciting to watch, because you now have that hatred for each other again, and everything means that much more.
Torts. What a guy. Okay, we're going to play a game here. I'm going to bring up guys that you used to play with, like one from every team, including one from junior, and you just you can say a word that describes them or a sentence or a funny story. Let's have some fun here. So a guy that is now a big deal in Toronto that you played with in junior, John Tavares.
John Tavares. I have a ton of stories about him. Can I give you a couple, or do you want just one?
Yes, well, give me all of them.
Obviously, a phenomenal hockey player, great lacrosse player, but that's where it ends. This guy, we go outside, we billeted together, we lived together, so we go outside. Our one other roommate who we played with was a huge Jays fan, so we go outside to throw the baseball around, and it gets to John. He catches it, and he throws the ball, and he looked like my mother, who's never played a sport in her life. I could not believe it. I was like, this guy is going to go first overall in the NHL, and he cannot throw a baseball. I was appalled. I actually couldn't believe it. And then another thing he did, he was hilarious in junior. He, obviously, at a young age, he had media all over him. And one thing I respected was how well he handled it. He was the biggest fruit gusher savage I'd ever seen. After every game, he'd take a box of fruit gushers and smash them in his room in the basement and play NHL, like a full box. I'm not talking one pack. But now he's the biggest health freak. So it's hilarious how you kind of mature and get older and understand, what it takes to be, well, for him, one of the top 5 player in the league. So I could go on and on about stories about him. We can go on to the next person. We
played a clip of his last night where he was talking about Marner or something. He spoke for 30 seconds and didn't say a thing. I even said it on the show, and I would say that if he was here, and he would probably be like, yeah, that's kind of how the NHL is now.
Yeah, exactly. Johnny does that best. He's grown up a lot. He was I felt bad for him. He dealt with so much media at the age of 14 whenever he got 14 now, when he had that exceptional status to get in the OHL. And I mean, that's tough. You're still a kid at that age. And
was it as big, though?
Imagine.
Was it as big as I remember going to Pete's games, and when the Generals would come to town with Eric Lindros, it was the only time that barn sold out. Was it that crazy like that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, with Johnny, too, that one year when he scored whatever the record was, 72 goals, it was insane. Like, this guy, every game, he somehow find a way to score. And I've never played with a guy who's been that hungry to score goals. There's guys who love scoring and love the glory and this and that, but I've never seen a guy so determined especially around the net, and would take a beating for it, because at that time it was still, you have to take a beating in front of the net. You're paying rent in there. Like, it was not, you're not just standing there and getting these tap-ins now. And he took a beating, and I've never met a guy or played with a guy that determined.
By the way, the Peterborough Memorial Center is still there, oldest arena in the OHL, and I don't see a new arena coming anytime soon. Okay, what's
they
that?
Need one. That place is a dump.
Oh, you dump it in? You dump it into the far end by the restaurant? You don't know where that puck is going.
Oh, no chance. Well, I think as a defenseman, someone dumps it in, you go to retrieve it. You don't know what bounce that thing's taken. Chances are you're getting your head put through the glass, too.
Yeah, they are replacing the floor and the board, so I think they're fixing that, at least that one problem. Okay, so
that's a start.
Your rookie season with the Rangers, Sean Avery.
Oh, I had a feeling that one was going to come. Believe it or not, he was actually incredible to me my first year. So I was 19 years old in New York, and I don't know how Torts let this slide or who came up with this great idea, but I actually sat beside him in the locker room, and I don't know if that was maybe a way of keeping him away from me so he wouldn't be coming at me, because I'd be beside him, and he liked to get in altercations, and when his altercations like to get into it with guys across the room, so that way the whole room was involved. So him and Brandon Dubinsky used to go head to head every single day about who knows what, just something that they can argue about, something they could go at it about. So I sat beside him, but believe it or not, he was actually a great guy. I remember I was 19. I went into New York, and I go into the rink, and Lundqvist is coming in 3-piece suits for practice. I'm like, what's going on here? Like, I'm wearing sweatpants every single day, like a slob. And then Aves pulls me aside. He's like, hey, Deli, I'm going to take you shopping. I was like, oh, sounds good. Like, I didn't really know any better. And he's taking me to this store and that store, and we're getting clothes. And I remember I got a $1,000 pair of shoes, dress shoes, and I still to this day I can't believe I actually went through with the purchase. Like, it was insane at the time, but a phenomenal pair of shoes, and he was great to me. So I can't say a bad thing about him. He was awesome to me and helped me out, and especially at that age when I was a kid coming from Stouffville, 20,000 people, and moving to the Big Apple was pretty overwhelming and eye opening, and he was great to me.
I know of more people that like Sean Avery than don't like him. So that's a common trend. Here's another Rangers teammate, Marian Gaborik.
One of my favorite teammates I ever played with, actually. One of the nicest guys, amazing to me. I was actually 19. When I was 19, that same year, we had the card table. We had our own plane in New York, which was incredible. And I was at the card table with me, Marian Gaborik, Vinny Prospel, and my partner at the time, Michael Roosevelt, and they had played this European card game, which I played a similar one, an Italian card game. So I actually played with them, so I got to know them really well. And Gaborik was the nicest person to me. I even have one of my best buddies, still to this day, talks about how we had gone for dinner, and Gabby treated my best buddy as if he'd known him for years, was asking him questions. He played, minor pro, and was asking him questions and was genuinely interested in him as a human being. And there's not many guys that will go out of their way to do that. And he's just salt of the earth, just one of the greatest guys that you'll ever play for. And then obviously on the ice, we had great chemistry, and we played the power play together. And with his speed, is one of those guys, like I mentioned before with Fowler, we were just able to see the ice very similarly. And I'd be able to spring him on breakaways just with his speed. He'd find the open gap, and passing, especially at that time on the power play, was the strength of my game. So it's always nice when you have those players where you just see the ice the same way, and things just come naturally to you.
This next guy, one of the kings of New York in the sports world, Henrik Lundqvist.
Stallion. What a stallion. There's Stallion, and probably the most competitive guy I've ever played with, too. He's extremely competitive, but in a way can belittle you at times. There'd be some games, and my parents would mention at home, where you're a defenseman, you go down to block a shot, and you for whatever reason it gets by you and it goes in, and he's glaring you.
Yes, I've seen
TV.
that.
Oh, there's no worse feeling when you have. Especially at that time, like, he's still one of the best goalies in the game, but at that time you could say probably the best goalie in the game, the king of New York. Guy looks like a supermodel, and he's just glaring you on national TV, just belittling you. And there's no worse feeling. But again, super nice guy. Like, we had a great team in New York. We didn't really have any bad apples. He was awesome. But like I said before, this guy came dressed as if he was walking the red carpet every single day. It didn't matter if we were in Buffalo in January or we were in Edmonton in February, practice day. It didn't matter where we were. This guy was done perfectly. His hair was perfect. His groom was perfect. His beard was perfectly groomed. Had a 3-piece on. And
I love it.
Oh, it's insane. It was insane. And pretty impressive that, every day he took the effort to make sure he looked like a 10 coming in the rink.
You talk about the glare that he gives. It must be a skill that defensemen in the NHL acquire, because the cameras are on you, and if your goalie lets in a bad one, if you just glance at him to see if, like, his reaction, it might look like you're glaring at him, right? So you just have to look down or into the corner.
I mean, now that you mentioned, I've never really thought of that. I've glared at him because I know they glare at me, so I think it just works both ways. Okay. Like, everyone makes mistakes. They're going to get a glare, and it is what it is,
Okay, next one, another Ranger, because you played there. How many? You played there 5 years, I think?
4.5, yeah.
4.5. Rick Nash.
Again, another awesome guy, but not a guy that will entertain conversation unless you initiate. He's very, very quiet, especially at the rink, very quiet. But I was fortunate enough that we drove together to the rink quite a bit because we lived a couple blocks apart. But a super nice guy, very down to earth, but very, very quiet. And if you're not willing to entertain a conversation, there's going to be no conversation.
That's
very
fine.
laid back, and that's just kind of his personality. But I mean, we still keep in touch to this day. Like, a super nice guy, and probably I'd say one or two, definitely up there, one or two. When he was on, before he had those concussion problems, most dominant player I played with.
Yeah, huge.
I've never seen a guy, you get over the blue line with his reach, the way he'd take the puck to the net, you cannot stop him. It was impossible. And it just, most nights, like before his injuries, it was just being on the ice with him, or even in practice, it was just fun to watch him play. He was just that good.
And likes the ponies too, right? I think. Doesn't he?
Yes.
Yes. One of our coworkers here at TSN, Marty Biron. That guy.
Up.
Have you ever seen that guy not smile?
I've never seen him not talk. It just doesn't stop. Doesn't stop. The thing about Marty, I think this is public knowledge, but I mean, anyone who's played with him, he still has the same skates. When I played with him, the same skates from junior. And at that time, I don't know, Marty was, I guess, 34, like somewhere around there.
Mm-hmm.
So since junior, a really long time. So in order to keep any sort of support for his ankles, he would use a full roll of clear tape on each ankle. So think before, like, the sound clear tape makes. Like, it's not.
Yeah.
Not like it's not like Whitney Houston singing. Like, it's not beautiful.
No, it's a bad
using
sound.
A full roll on each ankle. Like, so every game, every practice, you're just ready to kill this guy. The most annoying sound, and whatever. I guess it worked for him. So you can't really say much about it, but that was definitely an interesting thing about him. That he had these skates that had no business being on his feet.
Okay, now moving to the Flyers, where you spent 3 seasons?
3 years, yeah.
A friend of SportsCenter with Jay and Dan, Claude Giroux.
Awesome guy. Again, wizard with the puck. Just great captain, all-around great guy. He's not really... Whatever you want to do, he's there. A great golfer. Again, super competitive guy. Loves board games. We used to go at like any type of board game.
Can he throw a baseball?
He can throw a baseball. He's a natural athlete. That guy can play every sport.
Okay.
Baseball, soccer. When we played in Philly there, where we played two-touch soccer before the game, there's a basketball net there. So we fool around, play basketball as well. And he's great at every sport. I'll give him that. I mean, there's still... If we were to play 10 different sports or 10 different games, I'd still definitely win, and he'd argue that. But it's just how competitive we are. Like, you could play the dumbest thing, just whatever, shooting a tape ball into a bucket, in the practice rink, whatever it may be. He is so competitive, and that's what I love about him.
This one you played with on the Flyers and the Blues, so you can kind of two birds with one stone here. Brayden Schenn.
quite a few nicknames. You call him. He's got the raccoon because this guy just eats anything. You'll be at a team dinner. You'll have a little bit left on your plate, and before you can finish it, he's coming over the top ropes, eating the rest of your food. He's an absolute savage, this guy. Him and his brother, I play with both of them. Every single team dinner, or any dinner you go out on the road, there would always be a mandatory dessert platter. You cannot go to a dinner without having 3 or 4 desserts on the table. You maybe get 1 or 2 forkfuls, and these guys are smashing the rest of it. These guys were savages. Also known as Scoops, he's got the 2 of them, and both of them have the most friends in the NHL that I've seen. Every rink you go to, they're saying hi to 5 or 6 guys on the other team, and they're like Bob McKenzie. They're the insiders. They got scoops on everyone. They know everything that's going on before it's out there on Twitter. So they're impressive.
That's hilarious. Okay, now moving to your time with the Canucks. Brock Bessie!
Great hair. Needs to, I don't know how to put this politely, could use some work on his IQ level. I guess I don't know if there's any better way than that to put it. Not the greatest guy. Can shoot the puck and has great hair. But a great kid, and we got along really well. And we had a lot of young guys on that team, and I was kind of like the fun uncle. So those guys would come to me for advice and stuff like that. And
you were there when he went into the boards where the door was open.
Yeah, with his back. Yeah, I was there. I went to the hospital with him that night, actually.
Oh man, that must have been so scary for everyone.
Yeah, it was an unfortunate incident, and that's one of, if probably not the worst thing about the game, is you see those injuries, especially when it happens to close friends and teammates. It's no fun.
Did you yell at someone for not shutting the door?
No, I don't even know who it was, but stuff like that happens. It's a quick game.
It does.
He was mad at himself for trying to actually throw a hit. I told him, just put the puck in the net. No one's asking you to hit guys. So it's his own fault, if anything, and he'd be the first to admit it.
Another young Canuck. So you spent however many games you played that year. I think you played just over 20 with the Canucks. Elias Pettersson.
Was very quiet and kind of arrogant at first when I met him. I'm a pretty outgoing guy, and I try to make everyone feel comfortable, especially at the rink, and love that, having that family atmosphere because we are together, every day, all day for 8 months. And I don't know, kind of got a weird vibe from him at first, and then as he opened up and he started playing, a great kid and a great sense of humor, very dry sense of humor, as you guys have seen from his interviews when he gives those glares, and that's how he is away from the rink. And it takes a little time to kind of crack through the shell and get him to open up.
What are his hands like in practice?
No, silly.
Yeah.
Some of the plays he makes in practice, it's silly. And for a tiny guy, he's a twig, and he can shoot the puck.
Yeah.
He can shoot the puck, yeah.
One of your teammates in Anaheim, legend Marian Getzlaf.
Awesome guy. I felt bad. One of my first days there, someone had made a comment about my hair, and I made a comment about bald people, and it wasn't even towards him, and I felt so bad, and he kind of made a comment to me after, and I felt so bad because it was my first day there. I didn't really know a lot of the guys. And then he came to me after. He was like, "Hey, I was just pulling your leg a little bit." So I felt terrible because obviously there's nothing there. He's got nothing.
But he shaves it off now. At least he shaves it.
Well, exactly. He's one of the guys that gets it. I don't understand these people who are just hanging on for dear life. It looks terrible.
Yeah, I know.
Just get rid of it.
And finally, this was a teammate of yours in St. Louis. He's a former Toronto Maple Leaf. Jay and I were working at an event in Saskatchewan, and his parents were at this event, and we hit it off with them. So we've met his parents, but never him. Tyler Bozak.
How have you guys not met him? You guys would love him. Just his personality. He's always joking around, playing pranks on guys, laughing, loves stirring the pot. He's completely your type of guy.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially being a good prairie boy too. Awesome guy. Again, he's all the time he's playing pranks, making little bets with guys, and he's definitely the life of the room.
Well, he's from Saskatchewan, of course.
Is that the trend?
Yeah, Saskatchewan, they get along with everyone. That's like the Schenns. You said scoops.
Scoops. You guys got to get some scoops for him. Give him a call. He would love to have a conversation with you and just let you know what he's been hearing.
Okay, we will have it on. And before we let you go, you are preparing for another NHL season. So do you have workout partners, or you go to Gary Roberts' garage every day? How do you do your summer?
No, I do not go to his garage. I train with Matt Nichols. It'll be my sixth summer there. We train out of St. Mike's. So it's kind of that little gym at the back of the arena, which I love about it. It's tiny, but it's gritty. You're there, you put your work boots on, and you're there to work. It's not some of these places where you have all these bells and whistles and
because that's
all for show.
That's for people that just want to go and say they're at the gym, and then they can do other stuff and not work out.
Exactly. So we have an amazing group there. 22, 23 guys. And it's a good setup because we have, obviously the rink there, so we hold all our practices there. We work out there. We have the track and the AstroTurf field in the back. So it's nice having everything in one spot. It's very convenient. And as you know, with Toronto traffic, working out somewhere and trying to get across town,
no chance.
Skate, it could be half your day gone, right? So the convenience factor is definitely a big selling point there. But also, Matt Nickel is, in my opinion, the brightest mind when it comes to strength and conditioning and off-ice workouts. So he's been great for me because I used to overtrain. When I was younger, I was doing 2-3 workouts a day, and I look like a Greek god, but and I still do. But come October, November, I was already gassed, and we had just started the season.
Well, I remember when I was in Vancouver covering the Canucks, and one camp, Brent Sopel showed up, and they literally said to him, "You have too much muscle. Go get rid of some of it."
Yeah, well, some guys, that's part of the problem. You train so hard, and it's not even the muscle side. It's your body needs a rest. Like the NHL season is so grueling. So, come the off season, you need time to rest. And that's one thing Matty has been great for me. And he has this saying he always tells me, he's like, you're hammering on the gas, but the tank's empty. So you're not going anywhere and you're just doing yourself harm. So rest and recovery has been probably the biggest change for me. And especially now is, not to say I'm old, but in the hockey world, older, at 29 and going to my 11th year, is you don't need to be training as hard as or as much as you were maybe you were 19, 20, and now it's just more about preservation and not overdoing it or also underdoing it. It's just kind of knowing what the right balance is, and it's like any job, as you get older and gain experience, what the perfect balance is.
Do you think what the Raptors did with Kawhi Leonard in their championship season with load management, do you think that will ever come to the NHL?
I hope not. I get it. I get why they did it, and obviously they won, and being a Raptors fan is amazing. But I hope it doesn't come to that, because you got to look at it from the other side of things, too, as we're trying to grow the game of hockey.
Exactly. You want to see the superstars.
Exactly. Especially Toronto, you're paying $500 for a ticket, and Edmonton comes to town. You expect to see Connor McDavid. You don't want Connor McDavid to be sitting out because of load management, right? So yeah. I see it from the other side, and from the business side, especially with hockey, as we're continually trying to grow the game and catch up with these other sports. I just don't see it getting to that, and I hope it doesn't get to that either.
Michael Del Zotto, this was a treat. We thank you so much for coming on. We've been trying to have you on here forever, and it finally worked out. You were going to be here in studio, but you had a golf game or a golf tournament to play in today, so it didn't work out, but you were able to get to us by phone, and we really appreciate it.
Anytime. Thanks for having me, and hopefully we can keep this a regular thing.
Yes, for sure. Thanks, buddy. That's Michael Del Zotto of your Anaheim Ducks. Stanley Cup winner with the Blues, played for the Canucks, played for the Flyers, played for the Rangers. He's done it all. Hey, Stoff.
Yes?
I was away when you guys announced the Regina stop on our podcast tour, but I did listen to all the podcasts. Do you still have that in the system, the announcement?
Yes. Let's throw to it now and react to it as if we played it.
Oh, wow. I love that. You did a great job with that stuff.
Thank you. Thank you.
You think by now I would have memorized the Jay and Dan podcast tour schedule, but I haven't. Where do we get tickets again? Eventbrite?
We need tickets?
No.
Jeez, I'm way behind on this. Yeah, I believe it's eventbrite.ca.
Yeah. Can you check that just to make sure?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's the Jay and Dan podcast tour celebrating 10 years of podcasting that's good for your ear holes. We are in Victoria, September 20th. Vancouver, September 21st. We're playing the McPherson Playhouse in Victoria. We're playing the Vogue Theatre in Vancouver. Ticket sales. Well, there's some tickets. There's only singles available for those. Sorry, there's a lot. There's a lot available. Was that the right website?
Yeah, so it's eventbrite.ca, but Bright is spelled Brite.
Ah, that's good. I'm glad you pointed that out. Okay, October 4th, Calgary, Alberta, in the Bella Concert Hall. We're coming for you. That place is very close to being sold out. Edmonton, October 5th. We're coming for you. The Meyer Horowitz Theater. Ooh, they're neck and neck, Calgary and Edmonton, because they give us the percentages of how many tickets are sold on these ticket counts. Neck and neck to who sells out first. Then Saskatoon. Was it September, October? November 1st. That's at the Broadway Theater. I think, well, that's very close to being sold out. You think I'm yeah, but I'm not. I'm actually not even pulling the wool over your eyes. November 2nd, Winnipeg, Manitoba, the Garrick. Ooh, very strong ticket sales. Still some tickets available. And that added podcast in which I should have spoke about right after that we had played that announcement. Regina, November 15th. The Convention Hall. Ooh, strong out of the gate, Regina. Maybe the Schenns will be there. The Scoops.
Hopefully we can still get tickets.
Imagine I would show up to do a podcast tour and we don't have tickets and are turned away at the gate.
That'd be a rough meet and greet after.
Hey, lots of tickets available if you want to go down to a Tigers game. But still, for some reason...
Still takes a long time to get in.
And ticket sellers are still out there, and I think you can't say the previous name for a ticket seller outside.
Yeah.
Probably we should stay away from that because not correct. Didn't drive a very hard bargain. We got them below ticket value, and I'm like, where is this guy getting these tickets from? And he's losing money. Or is the team? I don't know.
He's probably getting them at a discount. But they were real tickets that you got? Because on the Rubber Boots podcast, Puffy went down to a baseball game in the States, and someone sold him a fake ticket. And they also told him to walk all the way around the stadium to a different gate so that he could take the whole experience in. And by the time he got there, he realized...
What a knob. Took our scooters to the casino, the Greektown Casino in Detroit. Went to play a little craps because I like to do that. I'd never experienced this in my lifetime. So again, if you're new to the game of craps, you wait until someone just rolled a 7, then you join the game. You don't put your money down while someone's rolling because someone will want to jump across the table and throttle you. They won't say anything, but no one will like you. I played by the rules, waited 20, 25 minutes. Finally, someone rolled, and I'm like, I pony up. A gentleman to my right looks at me. Gentleman to my left looks at me. They pick up all their chips and went to the other end of the table. I'm like,
Yikes.
friends?
It's such a social game as well, right? Like
They did not want to socialize with me. So I didn't make any new friends in Detroit. I'd planned to. Didn't work out, though. Okay, well, it was a fun podcast. Next week, maybe we'll have the 2 people that didn't show up.
Oh, anything's possible.
Del Zotto was a good guest.
Awesome guest, yeah.
Yeah,
That was a fun name game.
And he threw some guys under the bus, which no one ever does on this show.
You're going to love that, yeah.
Yeah. So, Stoff, appreciate it. Glad to have you back. What was your favorite thing that happened at the cottage when you were there?
Favorite thing? Just sitting on the dock, relaxing, blasting some tunes.
What's your tunes of choice on the dock?
Ooh, I go all over the place. I'll go from like 70s rock to 90s hip hop within the span of an hour. So
No current hits?
a little bit here and there. That's more of my wife's domain. She'll put on one of her playlists.
No
And I'll be
Jonas
like,
Brothers?
"Who's
Because
that?"
they've got some bangers out right now.
Are the Jonases hot?
The Jonases
Is it
are
Jonases or Jonas I?
The Jonas Eyes are so hot right now.
Oh, I'll make sure to cop the new CD, compact disc, when it's out. I actually heard that on the radio the other day that they were giving away albums, and I'm wondering, how do you give away albums nowadays? Like, do you mail CDs to people, like as a contest, or
Artists
vinyl?
release them and just put them for free on their websites, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. Podcasts are free. Oh, I listened to some more podcasts on the way to Detroit. More murder.
Well, I mean,
Whenever I go for a long drive, I text Duthie, and I also text Brendo and Norm, writers on the show. Duthie always gives me murder ones.
that's Duffy, all right.
Yeah, what a creep. Anyway, we'll talk to you next week. It'll be the final podcast in which Jay and I are separated because after he gets back, he's back on Labor Day. We cannot take any time off until Christmas time. So I know we're both going to be thrilled about that. But we'll be reunited in one more podcast. So next week, who's going to be with us? I have no clue. We'll see you then.